a sealed letter personally written by the monarch in 1986 that cannot be opened until 2085.
Don't know, but I think you're right. He's putting a line in the sand at the moment about what he's going to do as monarch going forward.
Queen Elizabeth had dozens of grandchildren, senior royals, and even a new Queen Consort beside her. Yet in her most private and honest moment, her will she chose Lady Louise Windsor, a 21-year-old who never chased a title, never gave an interview, and never asked for anything. A cottage on Balmoral Estate, the place Elizabeth loved most, the place she died. William made sure Louise got it. Camilla? She wasn't part of that conversation at all. That one decision has quietly shifted everything inside the royal family, and most people completely missed it. Stay with us. The truth behind this inheritance is more powerful than anyone is saying. The girl the world ignored. Most royal stories start with the people at the top. The kings, the queens, the ones whose faces are on magazine covers. But this story starts somewhere quieter. Lady Louise Windsor was born on November 8, 2003, at 8 weeks too early. She came into the world through an emergency C-section at Frimley Park Hospital in Surrey. She weighed just 4 pounds. Her arrival was so fragile that royal aides didn't officially confirm her birth for hours, only after doctors were sure both she and her mother, Sophie, were going to be okay. That's not the start of a fairy tale. That's the start of a fight. Within her first year of life, Lady Louise had already gone through surgery. She was diagnosed with esotropia, hardly a condition where one eye turns inward. For a baby, that's a serious medical procedure. For a royal baby whose family was watching closely, it was a moment that quietly set her apart from the very beginning. Her parents are Prince Edward and Sophie, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. Edward is King Charles's youngest brother. If you've followed the royal family at all,
Prince Edward is the youngest child of Queen Elizabeth II and was third in line to the throne.
You know that Edward and Sophie have always kept things low-key. No big scandals, no dramatic headlines. They show up when needed and go home. Louise grew up in that environment, and it showed. When she was old enough, she had a choice that most royals would grab without thinking twice. She could be styled as HRH Princess Louise, a full royal title with all the weight and recognition that comes with it. She turned it down. She chose to be Lady Louise instead. She said she wanted to live as normally as possible. No verified social media, no interviews, no PR team crafting her image. She studies. She rides horses. She drives carriages. For a royal, that life is almost unheard of. And that choice, that quiet, simple choice, is exactly what made Queen Elizabeth pay attention. Because Elizabeth had watched too many people in her family chase the spotlight. She had seen what attention does to people. She had watched her own family fracture under the pressure of public life. So when she saw a young woman who had every right to step into the spotlight and chose not to, she noticed. But there was one moment, more than anything else, that sealed the bond between them. It happened at a funeral. Prince Philip died on April 9, 2021, at Windsor Castle. He was 99 years old.
Prince Philip, the husband of Queen Elizabeth, has died. The royal family sharing the news on Twitter, writing His Royal Highness passed away.
The royal family gathered for a small COVID-limited service. The country was grieving, and in the middle of all that grief, the world watched a 17-year-old girl do something nobody expected. She drove his carriage. Not a senior royal, not a prince. Lady Louise, dressed in black, sat behind the horses and guided the carriage that Prince Philip had loved so much, the same carriage he had personally taught her to drive. Philip was not a warm man in the traditional sense. He was known to be blunt, private, and demanding. He didn't hand out his affection easily. But with Louise, something was different. In his final years, when his body was slowing down, Philip found real joy in carriage driving. He could have kept that to himself. Instead, he taught Louise. When a man like Philip passes on a skill he loves to one specific person that's not random, that's a statement about who he trusts. After he passed, Louise drove his carriage so it wouldn't sit empty. She said she did it to honor him. Queen Elizabeth was watching. Elizabeth and Philip had been married for 73 years. He was the one constant in her life. When he died, she sat alone at his funeral. COVID rules allowed only 30 people. And then she watched this young woman honor Philip in the most personal and quiet way possible. That moment mattered. Far more than anyone knew at the time. The cottage and what it actually meant to understand what Louise inherited. You first have to understand Balmoral. Balmoral Castle sits in Aberdeenshire, Scotland. It's surrounded by 50,000 acres of moorland, forests, and open wilderness. The royal family has been going there every summer for over 150 years. Or it's where they go to simply be a family, away from cameras, away from state duties, away from the world that never stops watching them. Here's the detail most people miss. Balmoral is not public property. It doesn't belong to the Crown Estate or the government. Queen Victoria and Prince Albert purchased it privately in 1852 with their own money. It has stayed in the monarch's personal ownership ever since. That matters.
Balmoral Castle, which has been a sanctuary really for the royal family since the days of Queen Victoria. Prince Albert bought it for Queen Victoria.
Because whoever owns Balmoral can do whatever they want with it. They can leave it, or pieces of it, to whoever they choose. The state has no say. Parliament has no say. The public has no say. Queen Elizabeth owned Balmoral personally, and within that estate, there are multiple properties, the main castle, lodges, cottages, and private homes scattered across the grounds. Craigawwan Lodge, for example, was a property Elizabeth used regularly when she wanted even more privacy than the main castle offered. These weren't guest houses or overflow accommodation. They were places the family actually lived in, argued in, grieved in, and laughed in away from every camera that ever followed them. Balmoral was the one place where Elizabeth could take off the crown, not literally, but in every way that actually mattered. No state banquets, no diplomatic meetings, no carefully worded public statements. Just long walks across Scottish moorland, dogs at her feet, and the kind of silence that 70 years of public life makes you desperate for. She loved it in a way she never openly admitted, but the people closest to her always knew. Louise inherited one of these cottages. The specific name hasn't been publicly confirmed, but royal reporting from sources close to the family indicates it was a private residence within the Balmoral grounds. A physical piece of the place Elizabeth considered her truest home. Now sit with that for a second. Elizabeth had dozens of grandchildren. She had great-grandchildren. She had senior royals surrounding her for decades. She had a Queen Consort standing right beside the throne. She could have left this cottage to the main line of succession or kept it tied to the estate as a whole. She chose Louise. A private will is the most honest document a person ever leaves behind. There's no public image to protect, no courtiers advising careful wording, no press office is managing the reaction. It's just a person, a lawyer, and the unfiltered truth of what they valued when nobody was watching. Balmoral wasn't just property, it was where Elizabeth went when the weight of the crown became genuinely too heavy to carry. It was where she spent her last summer. She died there on September 8, 2022.
A final goodbye to Balmoral Castle as Queen Elizabeth II made her way to Edinburgh on Sunday.
Quietly in the place she had always loved most. Giving a piece of that to Louise wasn't paperwork. It wasn't protocol. It was the most personal thing Elizabeth could have done. And she did it deliberately, privately, and without asking anyone's opinion. That's not an inheritance. That's a final message from a queen to the one person she trusted to understand it. William steps. And when Queen Elizabeth died on September 8, 2022, the rules of ownership changed immediately. Balmoral passed directly to King Charles. He now controls the entire estate. Every lodge, every cottage, every acre of Scottish moorland that Elizabeth had privately owned for decades. That included the cottage meant for Louise, on paper, and it was now Charles's property. And while there's no reason to think Charles would have blocked his mother's wishes, royal estates are complicated. There are legal processes, family dynamics, and layers of advisors involved in every major decision. In a family with as much history and tension as the British royals, even well-intentioned things can get delayed, diluted, or quietly forgotten. This is where Prince William stepped in. According to royal sources, William didn't simply nod in agreement when someone mentioned Louise's inheritance. He actively worked to make sure it was honored, that the process moved forward, that nothing got lost in the transition, and that what Elizabeth wanted was what actually happened. That's worth stopping on. William is the Prince of Wales, the heir to the throne. His schedule is already carrying the weight of a man preparing to one day run one of the world's most watched institutions. He has state duties, public engagements, his own family, and now increasingly, responsibilities that King Charles can no longer manage due to his cancer treatment. He didn't have to make Louise's inheritance his concern. He made it his concern anyway. Why? Part of the answer is straightforward. Edward and Sophie Louise's parents have been among the most dependable people in the royal family during some of its hardest recent years. When Harry and Meghan announced their step back from royal duties in January 2020, the ripple effects were significant.
Delivered the shocking news on social media. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to step back as senior members of the royal family.
Senior royals had to cover more ground. Public confidence in the institution took a hit. And in the middle of all that, Edward and Sophie quietly picked up the slack. They appeared at events. They supported Elizabeth publicly and privately. They didn't give interviews about feeling overlooked. They didn't negotiate their roles through the press. They just kept showing up week after week, event after event without asking for recognition. William watched that, and he remembered it. But there's a deeper layer too. William has seen firsthand what happens when the institution fails the people who serve it without making noise. He watched Harry, once one of the most beloved figures in the entire royal family, gradually feel so unsupported that he eventually left the country and started talking about it publicly. You don't have to agree with every choice Harry made to understand what William took away from that situation. The lesson was hard and it was clear. Quiet loyalty deserves visible protection. If the institution only rewards the people who demand recognition, it will keep losing the people who don't. Louise never demanded anything. She chose a smaller title. She stayed off social media. She drove Philip's carriage at his funeral, not because anyone asked her to, but because she loved him and didn't want his carriage to sit empty. By stepping in for her, William wasn't just handling an inheritance. When he was sending a signal to every quiet, loyal person watching inside the family and outside it. The signal was simple. I see what you're doing, and when it counts, so will I. For a man preparing to be king, that's not a small moment. That's a preview of the kind of monarch he intends to be. Camilla and Elizabeth Truth. Let's be clear about one thing before going further. Camilla Parker Bowles, now Queen. Camilla is not a powerless figure. As Queen Consort, she stands beside King Charles at every state event. She represents the monarchy. She has access to every official royal residence. When we say she was left out, we're not talking about her official position. We're talking about something that titles can't fix her place in the emotional circle that Elizabeth built and that William is now maintaining. To understand why, you have to go back to the 1970s. Charles and Camilla met in 1971. There was, by most accounts, a real connection between them. But Charles didn't marry Camilla. He married Lady Diana Spencer in 1981, in what was called the wedding of the century.
July 29, 1981, a shy teenager, Lady Diana Spencer, marrying the heir to the English throne.
750 million people watched it on television. What came after that wedding is part of modern history. Charles and Camilla's relationship continued during his marriage to Diana. Both of them later confirmed this. The impact on Diana and on the monarchy's reputation was enormous. Diana's 1995 Panorama interview, where she told journalist Martin Bashir that there were 3 people in her marriage, was watched by over 22 million people in the UK alone. It turned public opinion sharply against Charles and Camilla. It made Diana a sympathetic figure on a global scale, and it permanently changed how Queen Elizabeth saw the situation. Elizabeth was not openly hostile to Camilla in public. She was far too controlled for that. But her actions told a story her words never did. When Charles married Camilla on April 9, 2005,
the idea of her marrying the Prince of Wales was unthinkable. She was, after all, the other woman. And yet, in 2005, she became the Duchess of Cornwall, officially a member of the royal family.
Queen Elizabeth did not attend the ceremony. The official explanation was that she went to a reception for them later at Windsor Castle. But the absence was noticed by everyone. A mother who fully supported her son's marriage would have been there. Then there was the title. When Charles became king, the original plan was for Camilla to be known as Princess Consort, a lesser title. deliberately designed to keep her from being called queen. It took private negotiations between Elizabeth and Charles before that plan changed. In February 2022, during the Platinum Jubilee celebrations, Elizabeth quietly released a statement saying it was her sincere wish that Camilla be recognized as Queen Consort. Charles got what he wanted, but the fact that negotiations were needed at all tells you something about Elizabeth's private feelings. A monarch who fully embraced Camilla wouldn't have needed to be convinced. So when Elizabeth's will pointed toward Louise rather than Camilla for something as personal as the Balmoral Cottage, nobody who had been paying attention was surprised.
As we walked along the quiet country lane towards Balmoral Cottage, I really had no idea what to expect. Set in the sleepy Kent countryside in southern England, we were really privileged to be touring this private garden.
It was completely consistent with a lifetime of quiet, deliberate choices. Elizabeth expressed herself through actions, and this action was one of the clearest she ever took. The power shift hiding in plain sight stepped back from the cottage for a moment. Because there's a much larger story happening in the British monarchy right now, and Louise's inheritance is just one piece of it. In February 2024, Buckingham Palace announced that King Charles III had been diagnosed with cancer. The palace didn't say what type. Charles has continued performing some duties, but his schedule has been significantly reduced. His treatment is ongoing, and there have been periods where he has stepped back from public life entirely. As a result, William has stepped up not just in preparation for his future role, but in real terms, right now. He is handling duties that Charles cannot manage. In many ways, William is already functioning as the working head of the monarchy while Charles is still alive. And as William moves into that role, he is making clear, quiet decisions about who he trusts and who he includes in his inner circle. Edward and Sophie are being positioned as key figures going forward. They're taking on more responsibilities. They're present at the events that matter. Their family, including Louise, is being brought into the trusted inner group. Prince Andrew is not part of this. After his damaging BBC interview about his connection to Jeffrey Epstein.
Jeffrey Epstein. How did you first become friends? How did you meet?
Well, I met through his girlfriend back in 1999, and I'd known her since she was at university in the UK.
Andrew lost all his royal duties. He no longer has any active role in the monarchy and has been repeatedly excluded from major royal events. Harry is not part of it either. He lives in California. His memoir and interviews created damage that hasn't healed. Any path back into royal life, if one exists at all, isn't visible right now. Camilla holds her official title, but she is Charles's partner, not William's. When Charles's reign ends, Camilla moves from Queen Consort to Queen Dowager. Her connection to the working monarchy weakens significantly. If her relationship with William stays distant, and that transition is going to feel very isolated. Every monarchy has two structures: the formal one, built on titles and succession, and the emotional one, built on trust, loyalty, and who actually shows up. Right now, the emotional structure of the British royal family is being quietly rebuilt, and Louise is inside it. The Balmoral Cottage isn't just property, it's a place at a table that is becoming smaller and more exclusive with every passing year. When Queen Elizabeth put that place there for Louise, William made sure she kept it. One will, one truth, one legacy. Queen Elizabeth reigned for 70 years. She guided the monarchy through the end of the empire, through decades of enormous social change, through two of the most turbulent periods in modern British history. She sat with 15 prime ministers. She outlasted every prediction about the monarchy's survival. In 70 years of public life, she gave carefully managed speeches. We held official audiences and carried out thousands of state duties. Everything was measured. Everything was appropriate. Everything was for the public. Her will was the one place she didn't have to perform. And in that will, she chose Louise. Not because of a title, not because of a position, not because of any political calculation, because of a young woman who showed up quietly, did the right things for the right reasons, and never once asked for credit. Now, to be fully honest here, while royal wills in the United Kingdom are sealed, the High Court ruled in 2021 that Prince Philip's will would remain private for at least 90 years. The same rule applies to Elizabeth's will. What we know comes from royal reporters with sources close to the family and from Elizabeth's own lifetime of behavior, which consistently reflected her private values. Royal historians have long noted that Elizabeth expressed her feelings through actions, not words. Who she invite to Balmoral? What personal items did she give away privately? Who she included and who she quietly distanced herself from? Sophie received one of Elizabeth's personal brooches, a private gift that royal commentators read as a sign of deep, genuine affection. Louise's inheritance fits the same pattern. The will is sealed, but 70 years of behavior is not. Elizabeth spent her entire reign showing us who she was and what she believed in. The cottage was simply the final, private confirmation of what she had been communicating all along. Elizabeth had watched too much of her family fall apart under the pressure of modern life. She had watched Diana. She had watched Charles's marriage collapse in public. She had watched Harry and Meghan leave. She had watched Andrew's reputation destroyed. She had watched the institution she dedicated everything to take hit after hit. And through all of it, she had also watched Louise, the girl who chose to be ordinary. The girl who drove Philip's carriage so it wouldn't sit empty. The girl who studied and rode horses and didn't call the press when something difficult happened. In the end, what Elizabeth valued most wasn't power or position or public approval. It was exactly what Louise had been quietly giving all along: loyalty, love, and the kind of dignity that doesn't need an audience. Lady Louise Windsor is 21 years old and studying English at the University of St. Andrews, the same university where William and Kate met. She has a cottage in Scotland that was the most personal place a queen ever owned. She has the support of the man who will one day be king, and she has something rarer than any of that: the private, honest approval of a woman who spent 70 years choosing her words very carefully. Arwen saved her most honest ones for a sealed document that the world was never supposed to see. Whatever Louise decides to do next, whether she steps into a larger royal role or continues to live quietly, the foundation Elizabeth built for her is already there. And the message inside it is clear. Some people earn trust by chasing recognition. Louise earned it by never asking for any. Queen Elizabeth spent 70 years telling the world who she was through her public life. But her will told us something her speeches never could. In her most private and honest moment, she looked at everyone around her and chose Louise. Not the most senior royal, not the most powerful one, the quietest one, the most loyal one. That choice is a mirror held up to this entire family. It shows us who earned trust, who lost it, and who never had it to begin with. The cottage is real. The message is real. And the shift happening inside the British royal family right now is more significant than most people realize. If this story made you think differently about the royal family, share it with someone who needs to see it.